Well, she's smart as she's an entrepreneur or she's an entrepreneur. She's empathetic as she does a lot of groundwork for social causes. Progressive as she's trying to build a gender-equal world with her project. But her podcast has revealed her fun side as well. We're talking about Navya Naveli Nanda, who's co-founder of Ara Health and founder of Project Naveli, and now a podcaster. What the hell, Navya? No, that's not my expression of anger towards her. Allow me to welcome our guest, Navya Naveli Nanda. Very warm welcome to NDTV, and this is a very interesting name. What the hell, Navya? Where does it come from?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today. It's really nice talking to you. I think the podcast does have a really interesting name, and I think it comes from a phrase that came up very frequently during our recordings. And I think being 24 years old, there are a lot of things that my mom and my Nani find a little chaotic about me and my life, and me balancing work and everything else. So I think what the hell is something that comes up a lot. So
who do you hear it most from amongst your family members?
I think my mom and my grandmom the most. And I think, like I mentioned, even during the recordings, it was something that, came up as a joke very, very often. So we felt it was probably the best name to give the show.
Right. And, as I said in my introduction, you're juggling between so many things. Of course, your accomplishments are also commendable. And now this podcast. And I'm sure, you have drawn inspiration from one of your family members, because that definitely helps because they have amazing credentials. Is there any one family member that has inspired your work ethic?
No, I mean, I think there's no lack of inspiration at home, and I think they all are doing incredible work and have achieved individually so much. I think somebody who inspired me a lot, and she's no longer with us, but my dadi, she was an entrepreneur herself and a businesswoman, so she's definitely somebody who really kind of motivated me to want to kind of grow up and do something in the business world also. So I would definitely say she's somebody who I kind of take a lot of inspiration from.
And I think sometimes it's very important to know what you don't want to do. As you've been saying in multiple interviews, that you didn't want to go for acting, despite, having amazing actors at your home. But did that help in deciding that, okay, I want to go into podcasting?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was very clear from the beginning that I wanted to do business, and I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. That's something that's really excited me from a very young age. And I think that comes from my father. My father is a businessman himself. So I think that seed was planted from a very, very young age, even when I was in school. So I knew, immediately when I graduated college, that business was definitely the field that I wanted to enter. So I think, being an entrepreneur and, exploring new ideas, new mediums, I think podcasts is one itself. I think it's a medium that's growing very, very rapidly in India. So I think for somebody who likes to try new things and likes to explore new things, podcast was something pretty high up on my list. So I'm really grateful that, I got an opportunity to do one. I think it's something that I've always wanted to be a part of. And I'm really happy that this opportunity came by and that I was able to kind of host my own show.
And we not only saw your fun side, but also of your Nani and moms. Did it take any effort? I mean, was there a lot of planning and a lot of discussion what you're going to do with your content?
No, I think that's really the beauty of it. And I think that's exactly why we went with podcasts, because it's a medium that allows you to be very raw and authentic and honest. There's not a lot you can fabricate because, you're sitting in a room with 3 people and you're just having a conversation. So we didn't script anything. We didn't really have a lot of planning beforehand. We wanted it to be very natural and similar to just any kind of conversation that you would have at home. So not a lot of effort, not a lot of planning. And I think that's really what the end result has been, that it's a very candid, a very honest, very transparent conversation.
And every business has a goal, and when entrepreneurs also take up creative jobs, they also go with a goal. Is there one aim that you're trying to achieve with this podcast?
I think that, something that I've taken away through this entire process of working on this podcast and recording it with my mom and my Nani, I think is that it really made me value the presence of these women in my life. And I think that a personal goal of mine would be that all young girls, probably my age, who are listening to this podcast, I think value these women as well. We have them at home. We're lucky to have them at home. I'm lucky to have both of them sitting at home with me there to give me advice, give me their opinion, give me guidance. So I think the goal is really that we value them, we listen to them, we talk to them, we share with them, what we're confused about. And I think also just to know that they're there to guide us. So I would hope that young girls my age also have similar conversations with the women in their homes.
And which is your favorite episode?
I think a personal favorite is the one that's going to come out this Saturday, which is the financial independence episode. That's been something that I've talked about a lot, but it was really interesting to hear, my Nani story about when she started working at the age of 16, how my mom navigated her work life while she was, raising 2 children. So that's a personal favorite of mine.
And I want to tell you my favorite moment, or let's say episode, where you talk about Mr. Bachchan sleeping on the sofa. Do you want to share some details? How did you land up on that conversation?
I can't remember which episode that was in, but that's something I do a lot, and we've talked about it on the show that I often nap on my couch. And I think that for everybody who has a couch at home, I'm sure that apart from sitting on it and watching TV, napping is also something that it's used for. So I think not just me, I think most of our family probably see me lying on the couch during the day, and so that's really how that whole story came about.
And then we also got to know that your Nani actually doesn't let Mr. Bachchan sleep much on the sofa.
She's a strong believer that beds are made for sleeping, which they are, but I'm a strong believer that couches are equally comfortable. So I think I've challenged that notion in the house, and I really enjoy my naps on the sofa.
And once again, congratulations on all the progressive conversations that you're having, right? As you said, next episode is going to be about financial independence. And you also discussed relationships with your Nani and your mom. Was it easy, or do you do that often off camera as well?
I think the whole point of this podcast was to create a safe space and a safe space for women. And I think that because we were able to do that, I felt confident enough and comfortable enough to talk to them about, really anything, whether that was relationships, friendships. We've got an episode where we talk about women's health and hygiene. So I think it's when you create an environment in a space, which I personally feel is really important for us to do as women in India, is create a place where you don't feel uncomfortable talking about these things. So I think that podcast studio and that room with the two of them was very, very comfortable. So the conversation was easy, and I never really kind of felt out of my comfort zone.
No, we expected that from you, but coming that from Jaya Bachchan ji, it was quite a shocker. And she said that, people might find it shocking, these things coming from me, where she was talking about relationships and how one should explore the partnership before marriage, all of that. So commendable job there. But it also created some fuss in the media. Did you expect that?
No, I mean, I think that, when you're putting yourself out there, whether that's through a podcast, whether that's through your work, I think all of us are on social media today. You are, everybody watching this. I think that, when you put yourself out there, you have to understand that it's something that you're, sharing with the world. It's your opinion. People may agree, people may disagree, but I think that the purity and the motivation behind this podcast was to have really nice, fun, intelligent conversations. And I think that we were able to do that. And I'm grateful for all the love and support that we've received for the episodes, for the show so far. And I think that's just pretty much what we're focusing on.
Mr. Nani didn't complain that, this is what it has become, or this is the controversy that has erupted out of this podcast.
I think that we've received a lot of positivity and a lot of support. So we're really, really grateful for that. I think all three of us are really grateful for that.
And I think since we're discussing podcasts, it's important to get Kavita Rajwade as well, who's co-founder of IVM Podcast. A very warm welcome, and congratulations to you as well on how IVM is operating and also bringing What the Hell Navya for all of us.
Thank
you. If you have to give an estimate to a viewer who's probably not aware of the podcast ecosystem, what would you say to tell them that podcast is the thing? If there's any insight that you have, any stats?
Sure. So at IVM, we've been around 7 years now. We've been basically digging a little bit of a hole in this, the existence of what this medium can be. Podcasting is really big in the West, but I feel like from an India story perspective, audio is not new to us. If you talk to your parents, they've been listening to radio forever. But at the same time, I think what we kind of wanted to go after was this missing gap almost in conversational content, in talk radio, because radio in our country is mostly music and it's film content, it's conversations around that, but like there is this missing audio element on what smart conversations can be like. So the idea to be able to kind of do this was that initially. At the same time, I think we're actually probably at an estimated 100 million listeners in this country today, whether they're, and I'm talking, this is outside of music, right? Because currently, for us, a lot of times we get put in the same basket as video, but at the same time, I think these are two completely different mediums.
Sure.
How you consume them is very different. Audio mostly is a great on-the-go medium compared to video, which you kind of need to be seated in a place to be able to see,
Right.
or actually engage with the screen, right? But at the same time, I feel like, today, outside of music, which is obviously like a closest competitor, because, again, like these are things that you both like kind of consume when you're on the go, when you're actually mostly.
Was this collaboration easy? What was it like to get Navya to do this?
No, so the thing is that, see, nothing is easy, right? Especially when you're starting off, like in the beginning of it all. I'll be honest, film content is not our forte at IVM. It's something that we've always wanted to dabble in, but at the same time, we've also thought that it's a slightly over-catered to market. But at the same time, I think Navya has been a dream to work with, right? I think the idea that she comes from this illustrious family, but at the same time, like, wants to kind of pursue her own big business dreams is attractive enough for us to kind of like, go after her in a way that we really, really wanted to mold a young 24-year-old host, right? Podcast hosts are a little older. The thing is that they come from a subject matter expertise perspective. You should have lived enough life for you to tell lots of stories around your experiences. So finding young hosts for us is a huge challenge. But I think like she kind of fit that like mold really,
Navya,
really,
did you
really
find
well.
it as did you think that it was a barrier, your age?
No, I mean, I think exactly like Kavita said, there aren't a lot of, young podcast hosts in India today. And I think that's really, I think the largest demographic in our country. It's 80% youth. And, I think it's nice to, have fresh voices, new voices. And I'm really kind of grateful and appreciative to IVM and Kavita for, thinking that I would fit the mold of, a podcast host, and especially a young one. So.
Right. Thank you so very much, Navya, for joining us, and congratulations once again on your podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is Arun Singh for NDTV.